Hey everyone, if you're new here, hit that subscribe button and notification bell right now. Today's info could literally save your family hundreds of dollars in the coming months. Please watch until the very end. The most valuable tips are always in the final minutes. Don't make the mistake most people do by clicking away early. If this helps you, smash that like button to help others find this crucial information. Now let's dive into what's really happening with food supplies right now. Did you know that grocery costs just surged another 5% in July 2025? And supply chain specialists are cautioning that August could be the breaking point for significant food shortages. Pay attention, because what I'm about to share with you isn't fear-mongering. It's reality. The USDA just published a report revealing that 70% of American consumers are already worried about escalating prices. And believe me, it's about to get much worse. Today, I'm unveiling 10 grocery products you absolutely must stockpile this August before they either vanish from shelves or become so costly you can't afford them. And honestly, number 7 surprised even me. It's already disappearing from major retailers, and most people have no clue it's coming. Before we dive in, hit that like button if you want to stay ahead of these shortages, and subscribe because I'll be monitoring every update as this situation unfolds. Let's jump right into the products that could save your family hundreds of dollars and keep your pantry filled when everyone else is scrambling. Item 1. Rice and oats. You probably consider rice and oats as mundane pantry staples, right? The kind of stuff you throw in the cart without even glancing at the price tag. Well, here's the plot twist. These two modest staples are positioned in the center of a global food storm, and if you don't acquire them in August, you could be spending double by the holidays. Let's begin with rice. India, the world's largest exporter, isn't exactly opening the doors wide for inexpensive shipments right now. Earlier this summer, they imposed a 20% export duty on parboiled and mild rice to safeguard their own market. Sounds harmless, but here's the catch. The U.S. just struck certain Indian rice imports with tariffs of up to 50%. That means the bag of basmati you purchased for $25 last year could cost you $37 or more by winter. And it's not just pricing. Importers are cautioning that some popular varieties might not reach shelves at all. I even witnessed one wholesaler on the East Coast already limiting bulk orders to restaurants because demand is exceeding what's arriving. Now oats, they're not avoiding the drama either. Canada, our primary supplier, experienced a roller coaster growing season. First drought, then heavy rainfall that postponed harvest in key provinces like Saskatchewan and Manitoba. The good news? This year's acreage is up, so long-term supplies might bounce back. The bad news? Mills are operating lean right now, and certain oat products are becoming harder to locate until that new crop fully reaches the market. Add in shipping delays, and you've got elevated breakfast costs creeping in week by week. Some grocery chains are already reporting wholesale oat prices up over 18% since spring. And here's something most people don't consider. When oats get scarce, everything from granola bars to oat milk experiences the squeeze. So even if you're not an oatmeal person, your favorite snack or dairy-free latte could quietly increase in price. So what's the strategy here? Be tactical. Stock up on white rice, not brown, because white rice can survive up to 30 years if you store it correctly. I'm talking airtight container, cool, dark location. And here's a trick my grandmother relied on. Drop a few bay leaves in the container. Those little leaves are natural pest deterrents and can protect your stash from weevil invasions. For oats, purchase in bulk while prices are still reasonable. Rolled oats and steel-cut oats can survive up to 2 years when sealed and kept dry, so you're securing today's price and avoiding tomorrow's sticker shock. I know it's tempting to wait and hope prices stabilize, but history suggests otherwise. We witnessed the exact same pattern in 2022. Export issues, bad weather, prices climbing up until boom, 1 month they jumped 30% in a single go. Don't wait for that moment. Rice and oats might not sound thrilling, but in a shortage, they're gold in a bag. Item 2. Dried beans and lentils. You probably think beans and lentils are the most boring thing in the grocery store, right? Incorrect. In 2020, these little guys are becoming pantry treasures. Here's why. Argentina, one of the major bean exporters in the world, is in the midst of a severe drought. Crops are diminishing, farmers are stressed, and export numbers are already declining. That means less product is departing South America. And when less reaches the global market, prices skyrocket. And they have. Organic varieties of beans and lentils are already up nearly 40% in the last year. But here's the surprise. Demand is actually increasing at the same time. Thanks to the plant-based eating movement, more people, from budget-conscious families to major food companies, are leaning heavily into beans and lentils for protein. You've probably noticed it yourself. New lentil pasta brands, lentil snacks, bean-based soups, even high-protein energy bars incorporating chickpea flour. That's demand pressure. Now here's a true story. My neighbor Omar went on a quick trip to grab black beans last week. He's a bulk bin guy. Always gets them cheap, but he came back empty-handed from the first two stores, and the third store had nothing in bulk. He ended up grabbing canned beans instead at nearly triple the price per pound. Don't be Omar. Here's your action plan. Purchase dried beans and lentils now. While you can still find good deals, bulk bins are your best friend. You skip all that packaging markup. Once home, store them in airtight glass jars or food-grade buckets. And here's the secret move. Toss in a couple of bay leaves. Those tiny leaves do a big job. They repel pantry pests like weevils and moths, the little creatures that can destroy your whole stash before you even notice. Keep the jars in a cool, dark place, and they'll survive 25-30 years, yes, decades, without losing quality. Rotate your stock so you're always consuming the oldest first and replenishing with new. The reality, beans and lentils aren't just survival food anymore. They're inflation-resistant, high-protein, and incredibly versatile, from soups and stews to salads and spreads. And if trends continue going the way they are, what's a $1.50 per pound bag today could easily be $3 or $4 by the holidays. So grab them now before they become the next, why is this so expensive item in your pantry? Item 3, canned goods. All right, let's start with something that's already displaying major warning signs. Canned goods. Here's what most people don't realize. Aluminum shortages have gotten so severe that major manufacturers are quietly reducing production by up to 30%. I was just speaking to Mike, a manager at Walmart last week, and he showed me their ordering system. They're receiving about half of what they request for canned tomatoes, corn, and beans. Half. And here's the surprise. This isn't just a regional issue. The aluminum shortage is affecting every single canned goods producer. But wait, it gets worse. Remember those weather disasters impacting crop production? Well, there's less fresh produce going into cans, which means even if they had enough aluminum, there's less product to can. We're discussing a perfect storm situation here. Here's my insider tip that could save you serious money. Focus on store brands right now. I compared prices last week, and generic canned goods are still running about 40% cheaper than name brands, but they're manufactured in the same facilities. My neighbor Sarah learned this the hard way when she paid $2.50 for Del Monte corn when the store brand was $1.49 for the exact same thing. Pro storage tip I learned from a food preservation specialist. Always check those expiration dates and rotate your stock. Write the purchase date on top with a permanent marker. Trust me, you'll thank me later when you're not playing guessing games with old cans. Stock up target at least 50-60 cans per person in your household. Mix it up. Vegetables, fruits, soups, and proteins. This isn't hoarding. This is smart shopping before prices jump another 15 to 20% in September. Item 4, powdered milk. Okay, I know what you're thinking. Powdered milk? Really? But hear me out because this one surprised me too. Most people shove a bottle of it into the back of the pantry and forget it, thinking it's just for camping trips or baking emergencies. But here's the truth. This stuff is basically the insurance policy for your coffee, your cereal, and your sanity during a shortage. The newer non-fat powdered milk on the market can survive anywhere from 2 to 10 years. And in the right packaging, I'm talking nitrogen flushed, oxygen absorber sealed cans, we're seeing shelf lives of 20 to 25 years. Yeah, decades. And it's not just about longevity. The real reason this matters in August 2025 is that dairy prices are still climbing, driven by higher feed costs, labor shortages, and extreme weather that's reducing milk production. Fresh milk has already jumped nearly 20% since January. Query, and the USDA is quietly warning that we could see another bump before the holidays. Meanwhile, demand for powdered milk is surging in both the prepper community and everyday households because it's lightweight, space-saving, and tastes surprisingly good when rehydrated. And here's a pro tip. Most people don't know non-fat lasts far longer than whole milk powder because there's no fat to turn rancid. But if you want a creamier taste, you can blend it with a little shelf-stable half and half or coconut milk powder. Also, don't think of it as just milk. You can use it for baking, smoothies, yogurt making, even emergency infant formula in a pinch. And storage is simple. Keep it in a cool, dry place, ideally between 50 degrees and 70 degrees. And once you open a can, transfer it to an airtight glass jar and label the date. My aunt actually found a sealed can from 2015 behind her pantry, made pancakes with it last month, and said you couldn't tell the difference. That's the kind of safety net we're discussing here. So while everyone else is panicking over 7 gallons of milk, you'll be sipping lattes in peace. Item 5. Flour and baking essentials. Now let me tell you a story that'll absolutely shock you about flour and baking essentials. Just last week I was talking to Jennifer, who operates a small bakery in downtown Chicago, and what she told me made my blood run cold. She said, "I've been in this business for 15 years, and I've never witnessed anything like what's happening right now." Here's the terrifying reality. Whole wheat flour production just hit a 10-year low in the second quarter of 2025. We're talking about the smallest production numbers since they started tracking this data. And it's not getting better. It's getting worse every single month. But wait, it gets more shocking. Ukraine and Russia, which normally supply 20% of the world's wheat, are still dealing with massive disruptions. But here's what most people don't know. Even before the war, the wheat industry was already under crushing pressure. Climate disasters are absolutely devastating other major wheat producers too. I was just at 3 different grocery stores last weekend, and let me paint you a picture that'll haunt you. Costco's flour section looked like a tornado had hit it. The manager, who I've known for years, pulled me aside and whispered something that sent chills down my spine. "We're getting maybe 40% of our normal flour shipments now, and corporate is telling us it's going to get worse before it gets better." Here's the part that really shocked me, Labarta. Flour prices have jumped 47% since spring 2025. 47%. That bag of King Arthur flour that cost you $4.50 in March, it's now $6.60, and experts are predicting it could hit $9 by October. But here's where the story gets really interesting. Remember that neighbor I mentioned earlier, Sarah? Well, she learned something the hard way that could save you serious money. During the last shortage, she only bought all-purpose flour. Big mistake. Bread flour disappeared first because everyone started panic baking at home. This time, she's smart. She grabbed both varieties plus some whole wheat flour for nutrition. Now, here's a storage secret that literally changed my life. And I learned it from a food preservation expert who's been in the business for 30 years. Use Mylar bags with oxygen absorbers. I'm not kidding when I tell you this. Flour stored this way can last 5 to 8 years instead of the usual 6 to 8 months. It's like having your own personal bakery that never runs out of supplies. But wait, there's more to this crisis that most people are completely missing. Sugar prices just increased by 5.1% according to the latest USDA report, and they're predicting even bigger jumps ahead. Why? Extreme drought in Asia devastated sugar production, and El Niño caused the worst growing conditions in over a decade. Here's a real-world example that'll blow your mind. I grabbed 20 pounds of sugar last month for $16. Guess what that same amount costs today? $28. That's a 75% increase in just 4 weeks. My friend Dave, who owns a bakery, told me he's now paying more for sugar than he used to pay for premium vanilla extract. And here's something that's flying completely under the radar. Yeast shortages are quietly happening again. The American Bakers Association just reported that 68% of bakeries are having trouble finding reliable yeast supplies. If you remember the pandemic yeast crisis, you know how crazy this can get. Pro tip that could save your baking future. Don't forget salt and baking powder. These seem basic, but supply chain experts are warning about potential shortages in these essentials too. Salt might seem simple, but most commercial salt comes from just a few major producers, and any disruption there creates nationwide problems. Storage hack from a master baker. Keep your baking essentials in a cool, dry place in airtight containers. I use food-grade buckets with gamma seal lids for flour and large mason jars for sugar and salt. This setup has kept my supplies fresh for over 2 years, and honestly, it's probably saved me hundreds of dollars by now. Item 6. Specialty imports in ethnic foods. Here's where things get really interesting. And honestly, this is the category that's disappearing fastest from shelves. We're talking about specialty imports and ethnic foods. And if you cook with these ingredients, you need to pay attention right now. Trump's 25% tariff on imports from Mexico and Canada, plus trend on Chinese goods, is already causing panic among importers. I just spoke with an Asian grocery store owner who told me his costs have jumped 40% in the past month alone. Hoard, let me break down what's already becoming scarce. Sichuan peppercorns, essential for Chinese cooking, sesame paste, specialty vinegars, and imported oils. These aren't just cooking ingredients. They're cultural staples that millions of families depend on. Here's a shocking example. Zhenjiang vinegar, a staple in Chinese cuisine, has gone from 350 cents per bottle to 8.95 in just 2 months. Restaurant owners are literally calling suppliers begging for inventory. But here's the strategic opportunity. Many of these imported foods have incredibly long shelf lives. Properly stored soy sauce can last decades. Specialty vinegars actually improve with age. You're not just buying ingredients. You're investing in flavor that it becomes more valuable over time. My action plan: hit up ethnic grocery stores now. These smaller retailers often have better prices and larger stocks because they order directly from distributors. I found sesame paste for $4.50 at a local Asian market, while Whole Foods was charging $9.99 for the same product. Item 7. Coffee and tea. All right, coffee lovers, sit down for this one because what's happening to coffee prices is absolutely insane. Brazil, which supplies 40% of the world's coffee, just experienced its worst frost in 27 years. We're talking about crop devastation that won't recover for 2-3 years. I recently spoke with a coffee roaster who's been in business for 30 years, and he told me something that made my blood run cold. This is the worst I've ever seen it. We're looking at potential doubling of prices by winter. But here's what most people don't know. Properly stored coffee can maintain its caffeine content and flavor for up to 2 years when frozen in small portions. I divide my coffee into weekly amounts, vacuum seal them, and freeze. Game changer. Tea is facing similar issues. Climate change is hitting major tea-growing regions hard, and specialty teas are becoming luxury items. Green tea prices have jumped 40% since spring, and premium varieties are getting impossible to find. Here's my strategy that's saving me serious money. I'm buying whole bean coffee in bulk and investing in a good grinder. Whole beans last 3 to 4 times longer than pre-ground coffee, and the flavor stays fresh. Plus, I'm stocking up on instant coffee as a backup. It never goes bad and provides that caffeine fix during emergencies. Storage hack from a master roaster. Never store coffee in the refrigerator unless it's vacuum sealed for freezing. Regular fridge storage actually ruins the beans by introducing moisture and absorbing other food odors. Item 8. Frozen vegetables. Here's something that's quietly becoming a crisis. Frozen vegetables. And I'm telling you, most people have no idea what's coming in this category. Remember those weather disasters hitting crop production? Well, it's not just affecting fresh produce. Frozen vegetable processing plants are getting hit from both sides. Less raw materials coming in, plus packaging shortages slowing production. We're looking at a perfect storm. I was at Target last week and their frozen vegetable section was maybe 30% stocked. The manager told me they're having trouble keeping basic items like frozen corn and green beans in stock. These are staples we're talking about, not specialty items. But here's the opportunity most people are missing. Frozen vegetables are often more nutritious than fresh ones because they're flash frozen at peak ripeness. Plus, they last 8 to 12 months in your freezer. That's nearly a year of guaranteed nutrition. Here's my buying strategy. Focus on mixed vegetable blends and stir-fry mixes. These give you variety and complete nutrition in one package. I also grab single vegetables like broccoli, corn, and green beans for versatility in cooking. Storage tip that could save you money. Organize your freezer with the first in, first out system. Label everything with purchase dates and use older items first. This prevents waste and ensures you're always rotating fresh stock. Item 9, baby formula and pet food. Last, but definitely not least, let's talk about two categories that people often forget until it's too late. Baby formula and pet food. And honestly, if you have babies or pets, this might be the most important section for you. Baby formula shortages are still happening, folks. The industry recovered from the 2022 crisis, but it's hanging by a thread. Just last month, Abbott Nutrition announced production delays at their main facility, and parents are already starting to panic. Here's something that'll shock you. Baby formula has an incredibly long shelf life, up to 2 years when stored properly. If you have a baby or are planning one, stocking 3 to 6 months worth isn't hoarding. It's smart parenting. Pet food is facing similar issues. Most premium brands source ingredients globally, and supply chain disruptions are hitting hard. Plus, aluminum shortages are affecting canned pet food production just like human food. I recently talked to a veterinarian who told me something concerning. We're already seeing pet owners trying to switch foods frequently because their usual brand isn't available. This causes digestive issues for the animals. Here's my recommendation. Gradually stock up on your current brand while slowly introducing 1 or 2 alternatives. This way, if your primary choice becomes unavailable, your pet is already adjusted to backup options. Storage tip for pet parents. Dry pet food should be stored in airtight containers to prevent insects and maintain freshness. I use large Gamma Seal buckets. They're pet-proof and keep food fresh for months. Item 10, cooking oils. All right, here we go with something that's absolutely flying off shelves. Cooking oils. And I'm not just talking about your regular vegetable oil here, folks. This entire category is facing what I can only describe as a perfect storm crisis that's about to hit every single household in America. Listen to this jaw-dropping reality. Canada's canola crop yield dropped 35% this year due to the worst drought they've seen in decades. South America's soybean harvest was absolutely devastated by extreme weather patterns that scientists are calling unprecedented. And get this, Indonesia, the world's largest palm oil producer, just implemented new export restrictions that are choking global supply. Are you starting to see the pattern here? This isn't just bad luck. This is a coordinated crisis hitting every major oil-producing region simultaneously. But here's what really opened my eyes and honestly made me panic buy oils myself. I was chatting with Maria, a chef at a high-end restaurant in downtown Chicago last month, and she told me something that made my jaw drop. They're already paying double, literally double, for certain specialty oils compared to early 2025. Double. And these are bulk commercial prices where restaurants get massive discounts. Imagine what us regular consumers are going to face when this trickles down to grocery stores. She showed me her invoices, and I'm not exaggerating when I say I nearly spit out my coffee. Avocado oil that was $45 for a gallon container in January, now it's $80. Sesame oil jumped from $12 per bottle to $23. Even basic canola oil for their fryers went from $28 per case to $51. Maria told me we're having to completely restructure our menu because we literally can't afford to cook certain dishes anymore. Now here's the strategic part that most preppers and even experienced homesteaders get completely wrong. You don't just want any oil sitting in your pantry. You want versatile, long-lasting varieties that can pull double or triple duty when times get tough. Let me break down my top picks and why each one deserves a spot in your survival stockpile. First up, coconut oil. And this stuff is like the Swiss Army knife of the oil world. It lasts 2-3 years when stored properly. Works for high heat cooking, baking, and here's something most people don't know. It's incredible for first aid and personal care during power outages or emergency situations. Coconut oil can be used as a natural antibiotic ointment for cuts, a moisturizer for dry skin, and even as an emergency candle when mixed with a cotton wick. I keep a separate jar just for non-cooking uses because it's that valuable. Next, avocado oil, which has become my absolute favorite for serious cooking. This stuff has the highest smoke point of any cooking oil at 520 degrees, which means you can literally use it for everything from deep frying to delicate sautéing without it breaking down and creating harmful compounds. Plus, it's packed with heart-healthy monounsaturated fats and vitamin E. The nutritional profile is so good that during extended periods where fresh foods might be scarce, avocado oil becomes a legitimate source of essential nutrients. Then there's good old olive oil. But here's the trick. Get the refined version, not the extra virgin everyone obsesses over. Well, refined olive oil lasts significantly longer in storage, handles heat better, and costs about half the price. Save the fancy extra virgin for finishing dishes when you can actually taste the difference. But let me tell you about some oils that most Americans completely overlook, but are absolute game changers for long-term storage. Ghee, which is clarified butter, can last up to 2 years without refrigeration and adds incredible flavor to everything. I discovered this from my Indian neighbor who taught me that ghee was traditionally used for preservation before refrigeration existed. Peanut oil is another powerhouse. It has a neutral flavor, high smoke point, and lasts forever when stored properly. Here's a money-saving hack I learned from Jake, a wholesale food buyer who supplies restaurants across 3 states. He told me something that completely changed my buying strategy. Always buy oils in smaller containers instead of those huge gallon jugs. I know it seems counterintuitive because bigger containers usually mean better per unit pricing, but here's the science behind it. Once you open a large container, the entire amount gets exposed to oxygen every time you use it. And that starts a chemical process called oxidation that makes the oil go rancid faster. Smaller bottles mean you're only exposing what you need while keeping the rest perfectly preserved. Jake showed me his personal storage system, and it's brilliant. He buys oils in 16 to 20 ounce bottles and stores unopened ones in his basement. Once he opens a bottle, he uses it within 2 to 3 months while keeping backup bottles completely sealed. This way, he's always got fresh oil while maintaining a long-term stockpile that doesn't degrade. Now let's talk about storage, because this is where most people completely mess up and end up with thousands of dollars worth of rancid oil. The 3 enemies of cooking oil are heat, light, and air. I learned this the hard way when I stored a case of expensive olive oil next to my water heater and came back 6 months later to find it had turned into the most disgusting, bitter liquid you can imagine. Pro tip that it could literally save your entire stockpile. Store oils in cool, dark places away from any heat sources. Not next to your stove where most people keep them. Not in that cabinet above the dishwasher that gets steamy. And definitely not in a garage where temperatures fluctuate wildly. I keep mine in a basement closet where the temperature stays consistently around 65 degrees, and they've stayed perfect for over a year and a half now. Here's an advanced storage trick I picked up from a professional food preservation expert. If you're buying oils in bulk for long-term storage, transfer them to amber glass bottles or metal containers. Plastic containers might seem convenient, but they're actually porous and allow air to slowly seep in over time. Glass and metal create perfect barriers that keep your oils fresh for years instead of months. And here's something that'll blow your mind about the versatility of oils during crisis situations. During the Texas winter storm crisis in 2021, my cousin lost power for 6 days. She used coconut oil mixed with cotton balls as emergency candles that burned for hours. Olive oil worked as a natural wood polish to protect her furniture from the moisture. And when her skin got incredibly dry from the lack of heating, avocado oil became her moisturizer, hair conditioner, and even makeup remover. But here's the real kicker that makes oil such a smart investment right now. Unlike most food items that just maintain their value, high-quality oils are actually appreciating faster than inflation. That bottle of avocado oil you buy today for $15 based on current supply trends, it could easily be worth $25 to $30 by winter. You're not just buying food storage, you're making an investment that protects your family's nutrition and your wallet at the same time. Listen, I'm not trying to scare you, but the writing is on the wall. These shortages aren't just possible, they're already happening. The smart move is to start building your stockpile gradually, buying extra items each shopping trip instead of panic buying everything at once. Remember, we're not hoarding, we're preparing. There's a big difference between smart stockpiling and creating problems for others. Buy what you'll actually use, rotate your stock, and store everything properly. If this information helped you get ahead of these shortages, smash that like button and hit subscribe. I'll be tracking every development as this situation unfolds. Drop a comment telling me which item you're prioritizing first. I personally started with cooking oils because the price increases there are just insane. Next week, I'm revealing the storage mistakes that could ruin your entire stockpile, including the one error that 90% of people make that causes thousands of dollars in wasted food. Make sure you hit that notification bell so you don't miss it. Stay prepared, stay smart, and remember, the best time to prepare was yesterday. The second best time is right now.